Hello, everyone. Welcome back to St. Louis Teens. We are here today with Kyle Wong, founder of Pixlee. Pixlee is a user generated content marketing platform that helps brands market and sell by using real customer photos and videos. Kyle, you're a Forbes 30 under 30 for marketing and advertising in 2015 and a 30 under 30 All-Star Alumni in 2017. You're also a contributor to the Forbes and Fortune magazines. Thank you so much for your inspiration to young entrepreneurs, and thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Kyle, thank you so much. You launched Pixley out of your Stanford dorm room, and you actually started as an entrepreneur in high school at Brooklyn Tech. Can you share with us what drove you to the field of entrepreneurship, and what is the most favorite part of your journey so far?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things about entrepreneurship that just make it really exciting. I think the first is the idea that you get to control your own destiny and that you're ultimately accountable. And I think the second is the rapid rate of learning that you have to always go through. And the third is like how you get to deal with the uncertainty that is entrepreneurship that overall makes the job really exciting and really rewarding. On the rewarding side of things, there's a lot of things that come to mind. First and foremost, I think the team that we put together, the team that we get to work with on a day-to-day basis, and how we've all have grown with the industry. But second, I'm really proud that our work has played a big role in creating more diversity in marketing. If anyone has gone online shopping and you've seen the customer photos or their customer reviews before you bought something or the influencer content, that's us. So essentially, that went from being rarely used to something that's a staple, and almost consumers are upset if a brand does not show that these days. And we essentially provide the infrastructure to do that. So being able to change that category and along with this great team has been really rewarding.
And Kyle, can you share with us one accomplishment that you're most proud of or you feel most successful, and how'd you achieve it, and what are some of your keys to success when you were starting up with a startup like Pixley?
Yeah, so I think with any startup, you have to celebrate the small wins because I think that like big wins just really represent a certain amount of consistency and small wins that allow you to achieve great things. And I think just really taking one week, one day at a time, and how do you win the day? How do you win the week before you have a good quarter and before you have a good year? So there's a couple of things that, of course, I'm pretty proud of. One is, we were rated one of the top places to work. I think building a great culture is something that's super important to me and something that we always work towards. And we've made a lot of mistakes, but we always iterate on it. In addition to that, we've also won a lot of awards just for our work with various clients as well. And in addition to kind of seeing our teammates grow in their careers, it's also really rewarding to see our customers grow in their career as well. When we first started working in the space, Instagram just came out, and it just came out with that Android app, and it was still very nascent. And a lot of the customers that we worked with, they were at the time very junior in the organization, and now they are growing to become some of the youngest VPs because of their digital savviness. So I think it's been really rewarding to see people that we worked with, that we iterated on the product with, get some of the recognition that they deserve.
And I think that's so awesome to sort of be able to see individuals throughout that entire process, from the very starting stages now in a startup to much higher level positions, and to see that sort of growth over the years as well. And I think that sort of brings into the next question of, along that journey you're going to face obstacles. And Kyle, I want to ask for you, what is one of the biggest obstacles that you faced in your startup journey, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I mean, startups are facing problems every day, right? Whether you're going to run out of money or nobody wants your product or people are not joining your company, people are leaving the company, you deal with these on a day-to-day basis. And I think that part of what makes a good entrepreneur is having that resiliency and the ability to kind of stay focused even when times are down. So I think that like it's hard for me to articulate one or two problems that are um, extremely challenging more than the other, because it's never like a um, it's always something that you work towards over a period of time more than anything else. So whether it was raising money for the first time, whether it was getting our first customers. I know early on, one of the biggest challenges was that a lot of CMOs at the time were really scared to use user generated content. whereas we had a really strong point of view that actually seeing photos of real customers using the product actually was probably some of the best marketing you could do. So I think that probably the hardest things are the scenarios in which you have to stick with things over a strong long period of time, such as in our case, waiting for that industry to develop, because it takes a tremendous amount of discipline and focus and like determination to do that. Versus if it was a problem that can be solved very quickly over a day, then you just solve the problem, right? So I think that was probably a good example of something that I think has taken that was really hard to get over in the beginning, because you needed to make sure that you could stick with it even when the feedback loops were not as positive.
And Kyle, you're now a Forbes 30 under 30 in marketing and advertising in 2015. I want to ask, what inspired you to go into this sort of broader field of marketing, and what are your keys to success in the marketing field?
Well, I think if you think about marketing, one of the most important things in marketing is the ability to kind of create new markets and articulate value. And I think that's very core to entrepreneurship, is when you're building something new, you need to be able to articulate why it's valuable in a very simple way. Um, as so I think I've more accidentally got into marketing versus somebody who maybe went to school for it. And I think that one of the things that I'm really excited about in the industry is how marketing plays a pretty critical role in shaping culture and society. And I think that tremendous amount of power also has a lot of responsibility that comes with it as well.
And Kyle, I want to sort of shift back to Pixley here. You've provided services to Adidas, Levi's, Marriott, Coca-Cola, Yamaha, Charles Schwab, and numerous NBA teams. I want to ask, how can young entrepreneurs sell their products and services to big companies and corporations?
Yeah, so I think most importantly, it's great to have other companies that use your product so you can have a case study to show. Um, and I think that when you think about serving and solving these problems for corporations, a lot of times their pain points have already been articulated somewhere on the internet. And I think that when you think about building product for a particular segment, the more you can understand how that company works, what motivates that person, and ultimately what are the major pain points, the better it will be for you in terms of building a product. And there are different hacks that you can do to understand a company or a person better. For example, for public companies like Coca-Cola, you can actually just read their earnings report and you can understand what they care most about, right? That quarter. For let's say you want to talk to a VP of marketing, though, you can easily go to LinkedIn and you can search for other VP of marketing's job descriptions if you want to better understand what that person is responsible for. So there's different tweaks that you can do to better research these customers without just blindly building.
And Pixley now received VC funding from Anderson Horowitz and Exceed Capital. How do you think teen entrepreneurs can leverage the resources of the venture capital world that Pixley was able to leverage?
Yeah, so I think it's always very helpful to have a sounding board, right? When you're building a company and somebody to sanity check you and to provide input on your ideas. And I think that anytime you create a culture that allows for people to speak up and have input, the better the company is gonna run. That doesn't mean that you always do what they say. That's a very different thing. I don't think they would even recommend that you do that. But I think it is important for you to kind of get input on things before, because they can also help you avoid some common pitfalls that are common across multiple organizations.
But I think that's such an important point now, especially for young entrepreneurs, to really make sure you're getting as many sort of points of view as possible and trying to get, very sound advice. Not necessarily have to take it as you say, but trying to make sure that you have other inputs that are sort of going into your company and your startup. And I want to sort of shift here to sort of look forward into the future. Kyle, you serve as the judge for Forbes 30 under 30 in marketing. And with your experience seeing other young marketers, where do you think the future of marketing is?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I'll say one of the most exciting trends that I see on a day-to-day basis because of what we do is this democratization of creativity that we're seeing. And historically in the marketing organization, perhaps at a more established agency, um, young people have to move up a certain rank before their opinions are really truly heard and respected. And now people like yourself, lots of creators on different social media platforms have this ability to connect with the audience and be able to remove that middleman and also be discovered. I think that ability for people to be discovered for their work is ultimately great for marketing, because it's inherently a very creative role. And when you see that creativity that you see from the various different creators out there, you can't deny the talent that they have, right? They might not have fit within traditional marketing org structures. They might not have had a certain background that is more traditional for the marketing um, industry, but because of their ability to create great content, they have this ability to be discovered. And right now, some of them making great amount of income from it as well. So I'm super bullish about this democratization of creativity, and I think it's going to lead to a golden age when it comes to marketing.
And I think sort of looking forward as well, I'm personally very fortunate that my school has an entrepreneurship program called Spark Incubator, and I owe lots of my personal growth to Spark. Kyle, how do you think more high schools and colleges can facilitate an environment for innovation and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I definitely think that programs like Spark, right, are great when it comes to just exposing people to the category in this space. And I think that the younger you get started, the better, right? That doesn't mean that everyone needs to start a company at a high school, but it does mean that like if you can at least understand some of the main components of running a business and how to think about certain problems, right? I think it gives you a better perspective when it comes to enjoying um, kind of future education and gives you some inspiration for things you can do in the future. So I'm a big believer that you don't ever become an expert on really any topic. You just get better at it over time, right? And so you never finish learning. So I think the earlier you start that clock, the better it is for you to just appreciate some of the components that happen in today's modern capitalism.
And I think that's such an important point to really get your feet wet at as young of an age as possible. It doesn't necessarily need to be large, but making sure you're sort of getting that experience at a younger and younger age. It's always very beneficial.
But one of the benefits of that, by the way, is when you start a company when you're young, there's pros and cons. One of the pros is that you actually don't really have much to lose, right? Because you typically do not have, you're maybe living at home, you don't have, you're not paying mortgage or something, probably don't have kids, or you're not married. Like, so like there, you have like these additional responsibilities. So I think it's great as a way to tinker, and I think the internet has allowed for access to information and made it a truly global marketplace for work. So there's a tremendous ways for you to get at least exposed to the working world. Now, one of the cons, of course, is that there's often a lot of times things that you don't know and you haven't experienced before, like running HR systems, right, and not running payroll, right, and things like that. But I think it's one of those things where, if you just treat things with a growth mindset, I think the sky's the limit.
And I want to ask Kyle, what is your advice for teens and youth, and how can we be innovators and agents of change just like yourself?
Well, I think the most important thing is the concept of consistency. I think it's really easy to have one good day, right? And to, do something for a day. But I think that like any hobby, it takes time to get good at. And it takes a lot of consistency over a long period of time. And I think that one of the great things of college and also being kind of a young teen is you have a long time to become an expert at any topic. So, for example, for you, 4 years at Stanford, you can leave that university being arguably one of the world's top experts at any topic you want, because 4 years studying a particular topic, doing things at coursework around that, really allows you to become an expert at that topic, right? That also gives the opportunity to connect with other experts in that area. So I think there's something really special about a university like Stanford and its ability to help you do that. So I would say that, hey, the longer you can have consistency over a longer period of time, that ultimately will lead to your personal differentiation. And then secondly, using the opportunity while you're in high school and university to explore different topics and then go deep on a couple, I think it's a great use of time.
Kyle, we thank you so much for your phenomenal leadership and for your support of young entrepreneurs and the value they bring to our country. And thank you so much for your time today and answering all of our questions.
Yeah, thank you for having me.